Oh, hi! Hello! Welcome! Do you remember Monsters, Inc.? To me, Monsters, Inc. is kind of a distant memory from my childhood. I remember Mike Wazowski, and I'm also a big fan of this scene from Kingdom Hearts, but beyond that, I don't think I was ever that into the movie, even as a kid. However, I have memories of playing a hell of a lot of the PS1 game, even though I don't think I've ever gotten very far. I've come to realize that I have memories like this for a lot of games, but replaying them made me realize that I mostly spent a lot of hours in the same few early levels from a lot of my favorite games growing up. So today, I decided that I would be getting every single achievement from Monsters, Inc. Scream Team for the PS1 using RetroAchievements. If you don't know, RetroAchievements is a website that adds modern-style achievements to all of your favorite retro games. It's completely free, and has been a really fun way to experience games from my childhood or even completely new games. With that out of the way, my name is Nos, and this is how I mastered Monsters, Inc. Scream Team for the PS1. There are 31 achievements in this game, so we're looking at a pretty small set compared to last time, and looking at the achievements list, it looks like most of it is directly connected to 100% completion. So let's get started. Our story begins with Mike and Sully showing up for their initial training at the Monsters, Inc. facility, and obviously, Mike is being totally normal about this. After a short cutscene, we're put through a tutorial that introduces all of the game's mechanics. Monsters, Inc. Scream Team is a fairly simple platformer, so we go around, jump over a few obstacles, break a few boxes, collect a few coins, and then finally make it to the meat of the game. Being in a training facility, we're about to get our monster training by scaring artificial kids called nerves. To be able to scare these kids, we need to pick up red and green colored ooze to fill up this bar on the left, and then if our bar has the corresponding color filled up, we should have enough power to scare kids with the same colored shirts. When scaring them, it initiates a small minigame where you have to button mash different buttons until the bar is filled, and then they just pass out and die or something. But get ready for a lot of booga 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 booga. So we go around, collect ooze, scare the remaining nerves, and we're done with the tutorial. With that done, we now have access to the first world, the Urban Training Grounds. Each of these worlds are split into 4 stages, and each of them have 3 medals for us to acquire. We can easily get the bronze medal by scaring 5 nerves, the silver medal by collecting 10 monster coins, and the gold medal for scaring every nerve in a stage. Alright, now that everyone is up to speed, I select City Park, I pick Sully because why not, and we load into the stage. City Park is the epitome of first stages. It's super simple, and you're never in any real danger. That being said, I still immediately get dumpstered by this train, but it's whatever. From here I start collecting ooze to fill my bar and scare the different colored nerves as they become available to scare. I do run into this door, but it looks like it won't open until we have scared 3 nerves, so we go back to looking for more. There's also this trampoline which is currently transparent, so we'll have to come back after collecting a few medals to unlock it. Anyway, I eventually find this yellow shirt kid in the corner of the stage and scare them, which opens the closed door I mentioned earlier. Before I go, since my bar is filled all the way to orange, I decide to go back and take care of this nerve chilling in the trash. Next, we go past that door we unlocked earlier and find our 5th nerve, which we scared to get our very first bronze medal. Whenever we get a bronze medal, we also unlock a small clip from the movie, which I think is pretty cool, but I am too scared to show any of it here because of copyright reasons. Something that's pretty funny in my opinion is that every time we get one of these movie clips, it reloads the entire stage, which respawns all of the ooze pickups. This makes it super easy to fill our bar all the way to red and makes the whole thing really trivial. After the cutscene, we press this button that opens a hatch all the way on the other side of the level. But it really doesn't matter yet because we can't access it before we unlock the trampoline. There's this red nerve here which we cannot scare yet, so I take some time to collect some of the graciously respawned ooze before going back to scare it. Since this is pretty much everything we can do in this level for now, I leave and go back to Scare Island. I have mixed feelings about Scare Island, by the way. It's cool that they gave us a hub world in this game, but it's so small with only 3 worlds to explore. There is literally nothing to do here other than running to a world to select a stage. It's just kind of a weird inclusion, but I also admit that it's pretty charming. Anyway, we immediately go back in, I select downtown for the stage, I pick Mike as my character because why not, and we start the 2nd stage. Downtown is a pretty nice stage. I don't know why, but there's something about the cool blues used in this stage that make me feel quite comfy. Right next to the spawn point, we can find our very first extra try token. We're gonna have to find a total of 38 of them throughout this game, so might as well start here. Then, as usual, I start picking up ooze. I destroy this car here, which you can only destroy by bouncing on its control box, and collect a monster coin. Then, I enter this little park here, where I can find another monster coin, but there's also 2 extra try tokens hiding in the boxes lying around the park. There's also this green shirt nerve here, but my bar isn't quite filled enough yet, so I get back to looking for more ooze. On the way, I get distracted by this hole, and I try to determine if I can jump down or if it will just kill me, but ultimately I decide to walk away. Right next to the park still, there's a little bit more ooze, but more importantly, there's this blue shirt nerve, which I scare immediately. And since my bar is filled enough now, I also go back to scare the green shirt kid chilling in the park. This takes care of the first area of this level, so I head towards the sewers. Dropping down the hole, I find out that there isn't much to do here other than collecting a little ooze before scaring another nerve, but thankfully, doing so opens the door to the mall, so we go back up the ladder and enter the mall. In here, we have 2 nerves and 2 monster coins, but there's also these nutcracker type enemies that are quite annoying to deal with. When you attack them, they only drop down for a few seconds before getting back up to attack you again. After picking up the 2 monster coins, I do my best to fill my ooze bar and scare the 2 nerves hanging out in this room. This not only opens the door to the back room of this store, but it also gives us our bronze medal. Obviously, since there's an entirely new room open right now, I decided to keep going. Entering this room, I immediately find a monster coin just hanging there. I also make sure that I pick up every single extra try token floating around the conveyor belts as I climb up to the next floor. I pick up this monster coin right next to the door before making it outside to the rooftops. Long story short for this area, I go around and pick up every monster coin I can reach. I make sure to break these boxes here for the extra try token. I also make sure to pick up this extra try token here, break these metal boxes for another token, and finally chase this red shirt nerve to scare it. This brings me to this little platforming section. I jump across to pick up a monster coin and then manage to fall off somehow. I make my way back with shame to do the platforming section again, only to realize that there was absolutely nothing else up here. However, this lets me notice a monster coin floating around, so I make my way there and pick it up, giving us our first missable achievement of the run. We going downtown for scaring 6 nerve and collecting 9 monster coin on our first visit to this stage. To finish this stage, we'll have to come back when we unlock the trampoline, but for now, we leave. The next stage is the docks, which is exactly what it sounds like, a dock. It's another super simple stage, but we're starting to see some interesting stuff going on. I start the stage by collecting a monster coin right next to spawn, and then I break this box to find a blue shirt nerve who laughs at me because my ooze bar is too low to scare it yet. Insulted and wounded by this display of defiance, I make my way to this box, hoping for ooze, but I find a monster coin instead. I fill my bar immediately after, and then make sure to make the little shit pay. So yeah, anyway, I picked up another monster coin nearby, and from here, it's a matter of collecting more ooze and looking for more monster coins. I jump across these crates, where I end up finding a green shirt nerve. We take care of it real quick and keep exploring. I climb up this lighthouse to find a yellow shirt nerve, which I cannot scare yet and will completely forget about. After getting distracted by this unusable trampoline, I jump back across these crates to find a green shirt kid again and make sure to scare it, which opens a door on the boat right next to me. So we climb on the boat, start breaking boxes, find a monster coin and then another monster coin, then trying to look around the boat, I get in a fight with the camera and lose, respawning me on the shore. The good news is, it made me notice a few boxes I had missed, and I found another monster coin after getting back on the boat. I bully this kid who is just chilling there real quick right before making it below deck. In here, there are a bunch of obstacles I have to dodge as I make my way to the end of the room, but it's absolutely nothing difficult. On my way, I pick up an extra try token and a monster coin. Pressing this button triggers the crane, which places a box on the boat that will let us reach some extra stuff we missed earlier. But before I go back there, since I managed to fill my bar all the way to red, I take care of scaring this red shirt kid and receive the bronze medal. I make my way back to climb up the boat and take advantage of the new box we have access to. Using that box, I managed to get another extra try token, but it also lets me reach this red shirt kid. I take care of scaring it, and then I try to look around for anything I may have missed. I find a monster coin in this box, but fail to find anything else of value. I completely forget about the yellow shirt nerve I found on top of the lighthouse earlier and leave, completely missing the missable achievement for this stage. I just don't know it yet. Our final World 1 stage is the marketplace. The game describes this place as maze-like, but it really isn't that bad. I jump around for a bit trying to see if I can reach anything hidden, but I couldn't find anything. Walking towards these 3 kids triggers a short cutscene where they just run away deeper into the maze, but I'm really not bothered by it. Then I find this monster coin behind a wall right next to me. From here, I start jumping around just exploring for the hell of it. This is the first time so far that this game has plenty of platforms and fun verticality to explore. Admittedly, there isn't much for me to find, but it's a fun stage nonetheless. I eventually find this extra try token hiding in a box, and then make it across these crates floating on the water, making my way to a blue nerve. Then, in a box right next to it, I find another monster coin, and just a little further, after a little struggle with the boxes, I find another extra try token. As I take a few steps further, following the path, I can see the way to the sewers is still closed, and there's this yellow nerve just hanging next to it, which I can't do anything about yet. So I turn around to find another way, and stumble on yet another extra try token. I run into this green shirt nerve and try to scare it, but this stupid robot decides to hit me. Obviously, I slap that robot real good, and I start running after this green nerve until I manage to scare it. After doing that, there's a monster coin right in front of me, so I pick that up, break these boxes to find nothing but disappointment, and then eventually, I find my way to this box for a monster coin. Then, after a struggle to find the cans to finish filling up the orange bar, I make it to the nerve to realize that it was yellow, and I didn't need to do all this extra work. Scaring this yellow guy finally opens the sewers, but right before dropping down, I notice these two boxes. I break them and end up finding a monster coin. I drop down the sewers, and down here, there's a big pile of boxes. Breaking them, I find a yellow shirt kid. So I bully that kid real quick before making my way across these crates. On the other side, there's a monster coin and a ladder. So we pick that up and make up our way up the ladder. Up here, there's a nerve and a monster coin, but uh-oh, they're both in cages. To be able to get to them, we need to complete this puzzle, which will open the cages. Not gonna lie, I just randomly hit the gongs until the cages opened up. But if I got that right, you just gotta make sure the 3 flying carpets are in ascending order like stairs, and you should be good. With that done, I pick up the coin, scare the kid, and get a medal and an achievement for getting every bronze medal in the first world. Before leaving, I went around to make sure I didn't miss anything, but there's literally nothing else I could reach without the trampoline, so I left the stage. And upon leaving, I got this little cutscene letting me know that we now have access to all the trampolines in the game. It was time for a World 1 victory lap. But first, we have a race to win. Every time we finish all 3 stages in a world, we get a race against Randall. Those are mostly slides with a few platforming sections. We will have to complete specific objectives on them for an achievement, but for now, we slide down, make sure to grab the extra try token on the way down, and focus on winning the race. We'll get back to this slide later. With that done, we can now revisit every stage with full access to the trampoline. So let's do our quick victory lap before heading on to World 2. In City Park, I immediately make my way to the trampoline, enter this door, and start climbing up the spiral around a big tree, dodging barrels as they come tumbling down around the path. When we make it to the top, we find out that Randall was throwing them at us, but he immediately pieces out. Up here, there's a slide, and this is where all of the monster coins for this stage are hiding. I'm not proud of how many times I had to roll down that slide before I got all of the monster coins, but we eventually got it. While I'm here, I also take care of the red nerve hanging out at the bottom of the slide. In every stage, once you get the silver medal, an extra nerve will spawn. So I make my way to this new child, bully the shit out of it, and get our first gold medal of the playthrough. Next, I move on to downtown, and I think I spent more time here looking for where to go than I did taking care of objectives. I make my way all the way to the rooftops and find the trampoline. Jumping up there, there's a monster coin and this red kid completely styling on me. So I pick up the coin, get the silver medal, look at the new child spawning, and finally, scare the red nerve right next to me. Then, I make my way back to the conveyor belts, where I find the last nerve for the gold medal. Next is the docks, and in here, I use this trampoline for a monster coin, and then I make my way up the lighthouse and scare this yellow kid I completely forgot about last time. After doing that, I make my way to the second trampoline and get my final monster coin for a silver medal. This makes the last nerve spawn, so I make my way across, scare this little shit, and get the gold medal. This leaves us with the marketplace. I make my way to this trampoline right next to spawn and jump up to this platform where there are 2 monster coins and a red nerve. I pick up the first coin, scare the nerve, and then pick up the second coin. Then as I do that, I realize there's a third coin right there for the silver medal. This shows me a new nerve spawning in the sewers, and on my way to scaring that one, I notice another nerve on the rooftops. On my way to scaring that one, I also notice an extra try token, so I make sure to pick that up as well. Pretty convinced that that's everything, I make my way to the sewers, jump across, and scare the final nerve for the last gold medal of the first world. So, that was technically the end of my first recording session, so that's when I reviewed my achievement list and noticed that I had missed the achievement Terror at the Docks. So I immediately started a new game, ran through the tutorial again, and cleared the docks a second time, making sure to get the missable achievement for it before I kept going. All that because I forgot about one little yellow-wearing robot. And this brings us to World 2, the Desert Training Field, which is exactly what it sounds like. I load the first stage, the Sphinx, and get back to exploring. The Sphinx is a fairly small stage with a few platforming challenges, but for the most part, I'll be dealing with this Simon Says kind of game, where a few buttons will flash, and then we have to find and press them in the same order. At this point, I think everyone gets the gist of this game, so I will not go into details for every pickup and every nerve we find. Just trust that I'll mention whenever something interesting happens. For now, we can take care of almost everything on this stage, as long as it doesn't involve these speed boosts like this door, or this slope over there that leads to a monster coin. After running around for a while collecting every coin I could find and murdering the local wildlife, I finally decided to start interacting with the Simon Says game in front of the Sphinx. This needs to be done 3 times, and the Sphinx will spit out a nerve for every time I complete the minigame successfully. So after collecting every coin I could reach and scaring every available nerve, I got the bronze medal and left the stage. We head to the Oasis. I love the vibes of this place a lot. The clean blue water and the palm trees are such a nice sight after the yellow sea that was the Sphinx stage. In here, we have another Simon Says type of game to complete 3 times for a few nerve spawns. I also have to head up this water stream to gain access to the top of the palm trees, and if I drop at the right location, I can enter this cave. In this cave, there are a few monster coins, an extra try token, and this nerve we can't do anything about before we unlock the speed pads. For now, I pick up what I can and head back out. I kept running around the stage looking for more nerves, picking up monster coins as I found them until I eventually got the bronze medal. But I couldn't leave yet. I knew there was a missable achievement here, so I couldn't leave before it popped up. But I was really struggling to find whatever remaining objectives I was missing. But eventually, I spotted this trampoline on top of a palm tree and tried my best to get over there very poorly. After a lot of fumbling around, I managed to make my way back to the top of the cave to pick up a monster coin I totally missed. Then, while trying to reach the trampoline the wrong way, I found this nerve and then immediately fell down while trying to jump across a gap that wasn't meant to be jumped across. I ended up spending more time than I should have looking for a way to reach the trampoline, but it turns out that the solution was really easy. All I had to do is get up here to this platform and then jump over to this palm tree instead of doing whatever I was doing. I get the final monster coin for the missable achievement, and we can finally leave this place. After a very brief stop on Scare Island, we enter the tomb. The main gimmick of this stage are these block matching puzzles, where we have to either match the color or the symbols on the cubes. Matching these 3 cubes opens up the tomb. I drop down to find these 2 color spaces where I have to drop cubes of the corresponding colors. I find this purple one by going left, and this red one after climbing up the path on the right. Placing the purple cube in its socket spawns a nerve, and we get another one for placing the red cube. Scaring these 2 nerves opens the door that leads to this neat obstacle course. This game messes up with my depth perception a lot, so I fall down a few times, but I eventually make it through, picking up all the monster coins, making sure to scare this kid for the bronze medal, and then finally placing this green cube for 1 more nerve spawn. At this point, I'm still expecting a missable achievement for this stage, so I keep exploring. Thankfully, I eventually double-check the achievement list, realize there is none, and leave the stage. The last level of the desert training field is the pyramid. I do a quick scan of the spawn area, picking up every monster coin in sight, but the meat of this stage comes from this button right here. Every time I press it, it changes the face on the pyramid, which completely changes the room we enter when going through this door. There's a room with an eye that spits fireballs at you, a room with a bunch of snakes, a room with boulders constantly falling down, and finally, we have a room with steam coming out of the floor sometimes. Obviously, I climb my way up all 4 faces, collecting everything I can and bullying kids along the way for good measure. And then, when I'm done, I go back out to scare this yellow kid I couldn't scare earlier before I forget about it again. Conveniently, this is enough to get the bronze medal, which triggers the little movie clip. Since this respawns all of the ooze we can pick up around the stage, this lets me finish filling up my bar. So I go back up the different pyramid faces to scare the red shirt nerves I had to skip before. I receive the missable achievement for this stage, and then, satisfied with my bullying for now, I decide to save and quit the stage. This triggers a movie clip, followed by a little cutscene letting me know that the speed pads are now unlocked. This means we'll be revisiting all 4 stages again in just a minute, but before that, Randall is back and he wants us to race again. This is Desert Pursuit, and on this slide, we have to pick up at least 100 coins and beat Randall to the finish. I don't know why I struggled so hard with this one, but after falling off a few times, I finally locked in and won the race. I can't even say this is hard, I was just being bad for some reason. I wish I had more to give you when it comes to these races, but they are so straightforward, there isn't much to say about them. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough coins for the extra achievement here, so we'll have to come back to redo this race eventually. But for now, we're going back to the desert. I start by loading into the Sphinx stage to use this speed boost for an easy monster coin. Then, there's this door you have to enter using the speed pads, but I don't know what's up with it. After pressing this button, the minute I make 1 step off of it, the door just immediately closes before I can even reach the first speed pad. This had me stumped for a little bit, but I eventually made it work by jumping directly from the button to the speed pad, making sure my feet do not touch the ground in between. And then somehow, I made it in. Behind this door, there's an obstacle course with a bunch of death death traps I have to make my way through. But ultimately, while making my way through here, I find a few monster coins for the silver medal and a few nerves for completion. As always, the silver medal makes the last nerve spawn, so I make my way back to it, make sure to scare it to death, and receive my gold medal for it. The Sphinx being done, it's time for the Oasis. In here, I get the fastest silver medal I've ever seen just for using the speed pad right next to the spawn. Then I failed to make my way to this nerve several times before eventually making it. I make sure to scare it before I forget, and then get back to trying to make it to the cave. In the cave, I have to press this button to open this nerve's cage, and then use this speed pad to make sure I make it in time. And yeah, that was actually rather easy, and we got the gold medal for the Oasis. The next stage is the tomb, and turns out I can't even complete this one yet. I do manage to get the silver medal by using the speed pad, but in order to reach the final nerve, I am still missing one more unlockable. So after trying one more time and realizing it's no use, I go back, scare the newly spawned nerve for getting the silver medal, and leave the stage. Finally, we head to the pyramid, and this was probably the easiest stage to 100% I've ever seen. I spawn in, use the speed pad for the last monster coin, get the silver medal, and then the last nerve spawns right next to me on this tree. Easy gold medal. Alright, that's it. The final stretch. The last big one. The Arctic Training Grounds. This will surprisingly be our last 4 levels. These stages are the first difficulty jump in this game, but that's saying a lot because it's still fairly easy at this point. I even feel like this game had probably 4 worlds planned. I don't know. The difficulty curve feels like there was room for one more set of 4 levels, but the dev team ran out of time or something. We load into the Sugar Shack, a pretty small level, all things considered. There's a lot of water here, and this little platforming section in the middle, and then there's the Sugar Shack right across the river. I almost get murdered by this nerve throwing snowballs at me non-stop until I finally make it up the ledge to make it understand who's boss. Then I try to reach this extra try token that is clearly out of reach and fall into the river for my very first death in the game so far. I wander around this stage quite a bit for some reason. I felt like I was missing something, but no. I eventually just jump across the platforming section, scare a few more kids, and finally I get in a fight with a snowman. The snowmen in the snow world are probably the worst thing in this game because they constantly throw snowballs at you that are barely visible, but we manage either way. Since the Sugar Shack is closed, we have to find another way in, and this mailbox is telling me that stacking wood on the side of the house should help me with that. So I stack some wood, and then I scare this orange kid for the bronze medal. After a short movie clip, I drop down the chimney. Down here, there are alarm clock enemies. These guys just run at you and then explode. They're not too bad to deal with, but it did get me at first. I pick up the monster coin, scare the nerve hanging out in here, and then, since there's nothing else here, I head back outside. Trying to make sure I am not missing anything, I go around and stack all of the remaining wood, but turns out this was just a waste of time. I run around the stage a little bit more until I finally give up and leave. We'll have to come back here whenever we unlock the slingshot thing ability. With the Sugar Shack dealt with, we load into the ski lift. We spawn right next to this ice section with weird fish creatures jumping across 2 holes, with a nerve just skating around it. We scare this child for their own safety, ruin this kid's day for absolutely no reason, and then we make it to the actual ski lift section of the stage. The lift will take us across this section of the stage, but before that, I take some time to fall down, totally on purpose, to find a few things like this monster coin. There's also a few things on both sides of the lift, so we get back on and take care of those before finally making it all the way over to the other side of the pit. Up here, there's a shortcut I cannot use yet, but more importantly, there's a slide. And on that slide, there are a few collectibles for us to get. I had to go down the slope quite a few times. The controls for this slide sections aren't the best, and combined with terrible depth perception, it made it quite the task. I kept hitting retry so I wouldn't have to go back up the lift, but I accidentally hit no this time, which sent me all the way back down to the bottom of the stage. I made my way back up the lift, scared this red shirt nerve to get the bronze medal, and then gave the slope another shot. I finally got the extra token here, and then hit no on the retry question like an idiot. On my way back up, I decide to scare this nerve, and then finally get the last monster coin by doing the slide a few more times for another missable achievement. With everything done in this stage for now, we leave. Our next stage sank the Titanic. It's the iceberg. All things considered, this stage is surprisingly simple and short. After just a little bit of running around and ooze collecting, I scare a few nerves, dodge exploding clocks, and ground pound annoying snowmen. I eventually come across this slide and try to collect everything on it without finding my way up. Realizing that it's definitely not working, I finally leave to find this narrow path with fish constantly jumping across. I make my way through, collecting a few monster coins and scaring a few nerves until I eventually receive the bronze medal. Right after the movie clip, I tried to make my way back by jumping jumping across, but I get obliterated by this fish. And then it happens again as I walk across the narrow path. When I finally make my way back, I find this button, which opens up the ice castle. Then I have to use the speed pad to reach the door and get inside before the timer runs out. Thankfully, that one was pretty easy to do. Inside of the castle, or igloos, not too sure how I should call this structure, I end up finding a few monster coins and a few more kids to scare. I also find the door that leads to the slide from earlier, where I get my last monster coin for the missable achievement, completing the stage for now. This brings us to the final stage, the hot springs. This is one of the biggest stages in the game, and for that reason, I'll be getting lost in here a lot. So after stumbling around this place for a little while, I scare a few kids and, as usual, pick up a few monster coins. We can use these water geysers around the hot springs to get some height and reach higher places. I find this trampoline that seems to be launching me up just a little bit short, so after trying to get up for a while, I give up and try to find something else. While trying to find another path, I come across this orange nerve for the second time, and since my bar is filled up enough now, I take care of it for the bronze medal. Then, realizing there is nothing else down here, I make my way back to the trampoline again, and this time, for some reason, I am able to make my way up. I find another nerve, followed by a monster coin by jumping on this second trampoline, and then I come across this slippery ice bridge. Making my way across this bridge, I press this button that makes a geyser show up. This will serve as a shortcut from now on. I make my way through this tunnel, where I find a monster coin and an extra try token. I keep going all the way to the end, where I realize that there is nothing else left for me to do in this stage, so I finally decide to leave. For leaving with 12 bronze medals, we get our final movie clip, which I still won't show because of the scary mouse. And then we enter Arctic Pursuit. This is another race against Randall, and he just straight up cheats. What the hell? It takes me a few tries to get through this one, but I eventually find out that if I jump in the way when Randall tries to make it to this platform, I can just block his path and he just falls down the stage. This lets me take my time going down the slide, and before long, I win the race with enough monster coins to get both achievements at the same time. One for winning the race, and one for winning the race with more than 135 monster coins. Then, we get the Novice Scarer achievement for collecting all of the bronze medals in the game. With all of that done, all that's left for me to do is some cleanup. I have to go through a few stages again, and use the new slingshot thing I unlocked and skip the cutscene for because I forgot I'd need it, probably. And then we have to repeat the races for the 2 achievements related to monster coin collection. So I load back into the Sugar Shack stage, use the slingshot, and it launches me to collect 2 monster coins and an extra try token. Then I have to jump on the Sugar Shack's roof to find another slingshot that launches me across to collect the remaining monster coins for the silver medal. This spawns a new nerve kid nearby, but before making my way there, I take care of the kid right next to me. When that's done, I travel across, use that trampoline, but then the kid runs away from me, so I use the slingshot again to catch up and scare it, which gives us the gold medal and the achievement for completing the stage. We head back into the ski lift, where I finally find the second side of the door I unlocked earlier for the shortcut. Then I make my way back to the lift again so I can reach this trampoline, which lets me reach this slingshot thing for the final monster coin. I watched the new nerve spawn right next to the fishes on the ice in the first area of the stage before scaring the one right next to me. Then I make my way to the new one to take care of it as well for the gold medal. Next is the iceberg. I make my way to the slingshot right next to spawn to be launched towards the last monster coin. Getting the silver medal spawns the last nerve, so I make my way to it, scare it, and finish the stage. Now we go back to the hot springs, and I spend a bunch of time just looking around for the slingshots in here. This place is so big and vertical, so it takes a while. Eventually I spot it though, thanks to the first-person camera view. It takes a little more time to figure out how to get to it, but thankfully, after a little bit of time, I find my first slingshot. This sends me across for 2 monster coins, but apparently I am not done yet. I keep going down this tunnel, using this speed pad to get over this slippery slope. I find this button that raises the shortcut geyser for the future, and then jump on this trampoline that lets me finally reach the final monster coin. This triggers the cutscene for getting all silver medals, which is cool and we get an achievement, but it also kicks me out of the stage. A little annoyed by that, I load back into the stage, thankfully use the shortcut, and scare the 2 remaining nerves for the gold medal. Finally, I make one last quick stop to the tomb, where I can finally use the speed boost that launches me towards this slingshot that lets me finally scare the final nerve for the final gold medal of the playthrough. We get the very final movie clip, I lied earlier, and roll credits. That feels good, I agree, but we still have to load back in. We still have 2 races to get back to for 2 achievements. But more importantly, we are still a few extra tokens short for the 38 we need for the more tokens than you will ever need achievement. achievement. So I start frantically loading into stages, trying to find the few remaining ones I had left at this point. I eventually find one in the tomb, right next to the last nerve we scared for the final gold medal. Then I found 4 more by using the slingshot in the pyramid stage, but that still left me with 1 short. Instead of searching like a headless chicken, I decided that for now, I would take a break from token hunt and decide to start working on the races. I speak to Randall in the hub world and select the first race, and after only 2 attempts, I fell at the very last jump the first time. I absolutely crushed Randall with more than 120 monster coins collected. Turns out, these races are pretty easy. The coin amounts are very generous, and you really don't need to be perfect for the achievements here. So with that, I defeat Randall again in Desert Pursuit with more than 140 coins and got the final race achievement. I was expecting this to take much longer, but honestly, I won't complain. This left me with a single extra try token to find, and while I did try to find it by looking around, I just went to the Retro Achievements page, and thanks to this user mentioning their final coin was in one of the gongs in the marketplace, I loaded into it, ran all the way to the gongs, hit it until it fell down, and there it was, the final extra try token, popping our final achievement for the run. This was such a fun little game. It is definitely baby's first platformer, but I really can't say I hated it. It's a pretty short playthrough at just a little over 5 hours for 100%, but if you're curious or you're feeling nostalgic, you could do worse with a weekend. It's not a Spyro or a Crash Bandicoot, that's for sure, but it's really inoffensive and fun to play. Anyway, if you like this video, or if you'd like to see me master other games in the future, please consider subscribing. Maybe even hit that like button if you will. Now, if you don't mind, I think I have to get back to the next game I'm working on. This is Nos Syndrome signing out, and I will see you next time. I love your face. Bye-bye.